So, hello and welcome. My name is Leander Karel, co-founder and managing director of Nautilus and provider of the open ad insertion platform Serverside.ai. We are based out of Halle and Berlin here in Germany.
Hi, my name is Kumar Subramanian, CEO of MediaMelon. We are a streaming and advertising analytics company based in San Francisco.
We're delighted to host this session today. Our topic is ad fraud in video streaming and how it impacts server-side ad insertion workflows, especially on connected TV. One topic is to understand when and how ad fraud happens. But more important is to build and operate solutions that make a system robust and resistant.
So in the next half an hour, we will describe to you the issues around ad fraud and the consequences of those issues and the different approaches that exist in the market today for combating ad fraud in CTV specifically, and our suggestions on how to prevent ad fraud using the latest industry standards.
So Serverside and MediaMelon join forces to build an industry collaboration and enable a trustworthy ad delivery solution and to fight ad fraud. We are providing technology solutions which complement each other very well. Serverside.ai is an open ad insertion platform which monetizes video streaming by personalizing the ad experience for millions of viewers.
And MediaMelon is a streaming TV intelligence platform. It's a data platform that takes data from different points in the streaming workflow. So we have a solution that collects data, creates meaning from the data, and uses that to improve playback and also to improve ad monetization.
So our topic is ad fraud, and ad fraud is at an all-time high. And what the industry is facing here is not just some cheeky kids programming spoof apps after school. They are giant fraud schemes acting globally as professional cybercriminals stealing digital dollars big time. The digital ad spend worldwide in 2020 will be around $330 billion. Still, revenue in CTV is a single-digit percentage of that, but the fastest growing section projected at 15.6 billion in 2 years. But at least 20% or even more of that inventory will be subject to fraud or if we do not act accordingly. White Ops, an ad prevention company, has uncovered the probably biggest CTV bot attack in 2020 so far. Their findings showed that 28% of global CTV traffic was affected by fraud. Bot operation impersonated more than 2 million people in over 30 countries, generating 2 billion impressions, targeting high-value CTV inventory in the range of $20 to $30 CPM. They further found that more than 1,000 different user agents, more than 300 different app IDs, and at least 2 million IP addresses were spoofed, with about 1,700 SSAI server IPs located in 9 countries. And this is not over, but ongoing as we speak. Criminals are always one step ahead, so it's important to act and fight back by securing the digital pathways, as militaries do when they fight against pirates on sea.
So as Leander said, ad fraud is a large problem. A lot of dollars are getting spent and wasted on that. So the good way to think about ad fraud is to classify about the different kinds of ad fraud. And a good way to do that is to see where it occurs in the supply path. So in general, these ad fraud techniques orchestrate and create invalid traffic, spoof traffic. So in the video workflow, ad fraud can be thought of as belonging to device spoofing, ad spoofing, SSAI specific spoofing, a domain or site spoofing. We will talk about each of it in more detail in the coming few in this webinar. But the net result is that it all leads to negative consequences, such as distrust between the stakeholders in the ad supply path, mainly the marketers, publishers, but also the content owners. And all of them suffer a revenue loss since marketers will deny to have to pay for spoofed ad impressions and fraudulent invalid traffic unless they have, if they can prove it. And most importantly, long-term, the brand's interest will decline and they'll lose confidence in affected inventory quality. And these are the reasons why we need to classify and fight out ad fraud together.
So let's do a quick poll to get your view on the topic. We want to get some feelings, how you see the topic, how important it is for you. We hear different positions from people, how much it concerns their business. So please put in your vote here so that we can get your view and your concerns. We give you another, let's say, 10 seconds. 7, 6, 4, 5, 3, 2, 1. So let's see the poll. Let's see the result. Okay, so at least 44% are highly concerned, around 50% slightly concerned, and just 1% is not concerned. So thank you for this. Let's continue here. So let's have a look on what's the challenge for TV. How we watch TV has changed. Different devices, different circumstances, not bound to schedules, more alone, but highly influenced by social media. This is on the one side. On the other side, TV viewing via broadcast though remains flat, and SVOD, but also TVOD and EST offerings are dominated by some global players like Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney, or special purpose streaming services like DAZN in the sport area. For most content owners and programmers, ad-funded video streaming in OTT and on CTV is the bet on the right horse and the rising star for consumers. But such scaling business requires a robust and trustful underlying delivery technology. And server-side ad insertion is exactly that. And we will be the definitive technology for ad delivery in the next 3 to 4 years because it provides a flawless experience, TV-like quality, it creates relevance by personalization, and it is supported by industry-wide standards. For all who are new to SSAI, let me give a brief overview what server-side ad insertion can do for you. It's made for streaming on broadcast level to scale and serve millions of concurrent viewers. It manages a robust and adaptive ad insertion in the cloud instead of the client. By inserting targeted ads, it personalizes the streaming experience of TV commercial breaks and VOD programs. Revenues can be increased by interfacing with multiple ad servers, supply-side platform, and ad networks to make best decisions which ads to serve based on user profile, device, and location. It's a simple setup to deliver a unified stream to all devices, supporting HLS and Dash. And advanced tracking and measurement on device level. This is why we jointly managed the whole solution with MediaMelon, and Kumar will provide more details about this.
Thanks, Leander. So as I described earlier, MediaMelon provides a data and analytics platform. So if you look at traditional broadcast, you could broadcast the video streams to the different devices on satellite or cable, and you need not have to really understand or need to understand about what the experience is, because once you stream it, it gets delivered. But with over the top, the challenges are different. There are so many parties in the workflow, from CDNs to delivery networks to players. And in the case of programmatic ad serving, again, there are a series of parties in the workflow. So what MediaMelon provides is a way to capture data from the server side, working with Nautilus, as well as from the player side. We have a piece of software that runs on pretty much all the devices in the market, connected TVs, mobile phones, players, web players. And we have a system that collects the data. And so what analytics companies do is to use that data to create an intelligence platform so that they can have a full view on what's happening. And the result of this is a variety of different solutions. Quality of experience is a key one, where you get to know about the playback experience, what the different metrics underlying the quality of experience and audience engagement is. Advertising allows you to understand about the fill rate and how you can improve the yields. We can look at what is the right kind of content that a publisher should license and provide. And also you can develop solutions to change the bit rate during playback so that you can reduce buffering, improve the quality, as well as select the CDNs in real time. So a whole data intelligence platform provides a full view that can help you to run and manage a streaming service. So who benefits from this? So there are a variety of parties in the streaming workflow that would find find an analytic solution to be critically useful. So you have the operations team that can react in real time to experience issues and can get alerted to those and provide the best quality of experience. Customer care, they can identify and resolve challenges related to the impacted users. You can integrate with the customer care teams to facilitate communication. The product and content teams can ensure that the content is available to the users where, when, and how they want it, and can refine the content strategy. Marketing teams can receive the input that can lead to better recommendations and use the consumption and experience data to develop better targeting. And finally, and most importantly for this webinar, the ad ops teams can use this information to increase the fill rates and understand where and why the ads may be failing. The ad sales teams can use this to increase the ad yield and to improve ad targeting and decisioning. So the most important part in this whole thing in terms of the analytics side is how you can get a 360-degree view, where you can get player information and use that in combination with what you can see in the server side and create a full, complete understanding of the situation, so that you can use that to fight ad fraud, among other things. Leander?
Thank you, Kumar. So to explain exactly server-side insertion and where it's vulnerable to ad fraud, let's have a look on the supply chain. So we need to separate between the ad supply path and the content delivery path. The ad supply starts with the advertiser or its marketer who has demand buying inventory where they can place their video ads. They use demand-side platforms to create and manage campaigns and deals, pricing, and set audience targetings. A demand-side platform then talks to a supply-side platform, which is used by the publisher and the CTV and OTT platform owner to provide the inventory. Both then agree on direct or programmatic deals to allow the ad campaigns being delivered. And when we talk about open auction deals via real-time bidding, an ad exchange comes into play to manage this bidding accordingly. Serverside.ai is pre-integrated with many of the top-tier SSPs and ad servers to start ad delivery right away. Now let's look at the content delivery path. The content delivery starts with the content provider who uses either a linear playout for TV channels or a CMS system for VOD to manage encoding in the right transport formats. Then there's an origin to package, encrypt, and stream content via CDNs, which provide a cached and scaling delivery. This is finally where Serverside.ai takes over the stream manifests and becomes the new endpoint to deliver content and ads in the mix, what we call a personalized manifest. The content payload, though, continues to be delivered from the CDN. Just on manifest level, we mix it with the ads. Serverside.ai delivers the personalized manifest as a unified stream to all devices supporting HLS and Dash. And when the app performs a request to the Serverside.ai endpoint for a channel, it retrieves the URLs to the media manifest and the VAST data. The player starts playback, and in parallel, the SDK loads the current VAST information for the live channel. When an ad signaled in the VAST tag is starting to play, the client SDK will send requests to all tracking beacons defined in the VAST response. This is for the start event, for pause, for resume, finish, quartiles, midpoints, and finally also the complete. And in addition, the SDK also handles strict mode prevention if requested, for example, not to allow skipping within an ad break. Let's look at the weak points where the supply chain is vulnerable. And Kumar mentioned this already in the beginning when we looked at the structure. We can find spoofing and fraud on the application level, on the device level, and on the supply side path back to the SSPs and DSPs. So let's have a closer look what it means. App spoofing is when a fake app is acting like a premium app for higher CPM, and when an app is infected with malware and acts in the background like actual requests happen. Device spoofing is when a fake device is acting like a legitimate device. For example, by sending a CTV device identifier, which can lead to higher CPM for fraudsters. Or the infected and spoofed devices generate fake ad and bit requests. SSAI spoofing is sending fake requests on behalf of an ad server, of an SSAI server, which especially occurs on CTV. SSAI makes fraud detection more difficult because attacks are getting fired from the server side. And in many fraud cases, IP addresses were passed to the buyer side, which were not even connected to the internet. So the issue that lead to ad fraud is mainly because of a lack of standardization and the fragmentation of the device and ecosystem.
So this is where our companies can help and implement solutions, including the IAB standards into the SSAI chain. And the core benefit of the joint solution between Serverside.ai and Nautilus and MediaMelon is to process ad tracking, measurement, and analytics from the client side and send beacons directly from the client to prevent server-to-server tracking. So just to go back to the the way that the client side presence and client side data helps in fighting ad traffic. So first off, as I mentioned, it's closest to the actual user experience, the viewer experience. So it can accurately report on the various metrics, the viewability metrics and the tracking beacons. So as I discussed, we have a companies like MediaMelon have presence on CTVs on the different devices. So the data is collected right from the source. And to mitigate app fraud, we use a combination of device ID, the client IP, the device agent, and also use technologies like AdCert to sign the payload. And by doing that, we ensure the authenticity of the request. Further, we create a hashed app ID, the application ID, as part of the SDK, and we share that with the ad ecosystem partners. And this helps the ad ecosystem partners to easily block the unknown app IDs from its buy-side or sell-side platforms. And we also go a step further by including the location, the latitude and the longitude information in the signed payload and send that to the partners. And that way we can mitigate against location spoofing. So as we know, the CPMs and the economics of ads depend on the location and the type of device. So by creating a way by which we can accurately know the type of app, the type of user, and the location, we can deterministically figure out which traffic is valid and what is not valid. So a combination of the MediaMelon SDK and the APIs provides the real-time information. So the real-time information is important because you can take actions on a pre-bid basis to mitigate against ad fraud.
So let's have a quick look how such beacons are tracked and fired from the client side. You see here our SSAI validation app that displays the stream, and below logs are tracked, the player events are tracked via the SDK. And on the right side, you see the corresponding network traffic highlighted, highlighting the various beacons as well. So let me start this. So here you see the app has been started. In the red frame, you see we disabled the player controls. And the first quartile is sent in the network traffic. You see the ad progressing continuously. Then after a while, the midpoint is reached. So the second beacon is sent to show the 50%. We see the progress. The third quartile is being sent. And we have a complete ad view. So the SDK enables, again, the player controls, and we continue with the content. So there are no logs currently tracked, but we will have a second mid-roll placement in a second. So the app, the ad started again. You can see the ad progress. Player controls are disabled. We see the first quartile coming in. Ad progress is continuing. So we reach the midpoint. We reach the third quartile, and in a couple of seconds, the ad will be over. You see here, player controls are enabled again, and the complete ad tracking is sent directly from the player side. Kumar.
Yeah, so that's great. And so the way that all this information is then used in the ad ecosystem is through a set of APIs. And those APIs can be consumed by the ad tech partners to make their decisions both on a pre-bid basis as well as for post-bid analysis. And this data is also available through a dashboard. And this dashboard provides a holistic view of the status of the ad serving and how things look. So a set of dashboards provide a view on what the overall inventory is, what was filled, and what was it filled with, where the users came from, what kind of devices, what kind of sources, and that provides you the insights that are necessary to, from a publisher standpoint, to ensure that you are getting the best, you're able to monetize the inventory in the best way. You're also able to see the engagement of the users, how much of the ads were actually seen from a quartile to quartile basis, as Leandro described. And it also provides insights that can help a publisher to optimize the way the ads are, their content is monetized. Likewise, this data can also be viewed from the perspective of whether the ads were valid, what was not valid, and to detect and see how much and if there was any ad fraud and ad piracy.
So let's look at other building blocks that help to prevent ad fraud. So we just discussed client-side tracking and measurement, but there's more. So one of the important aspects is viewability. Viewability describes the ability for digital ad to be seen by an actual customer. To be considered viewable, it must meet the minimum guidelines. And the minimum guidelines are 50% of the ad is in view for a minimum of 2 seconds. And illegal bot traffic and other forms of ad fraud should never be included in the number of viewable impressions, which of course required analytics of invalid traffic. And viewability comes with open measurement. So open measurement is an IAB Tech Lab initiative to simplify the standardization, viewability, and verification measurement through a single unified solutions for publishers to support various measurement vendors. So there's the OM SDK and the Open Measurement Interface, which we, MediaMelon and Serverside.ai, are providing jointly in our implemented solution.
Thanks, Leandro. So the unique app identifiers within the OTT inventory are crucial for the buyers. They need to know which apps they are buying, but it's also important for targeting, blacklisting, brand safety, and fraud prevention. In the same way, domains can be used to identify and understand web traffic. Buyers need a standardized way to identify and understand what apps they are buying on. This unique store ID is also necessary for fraud prevention specs and relates to appads.txt. So the IFA is the identifier for advertiser, and the session ID is the temporary IFA to achieve frequency capping and measuring the number of concurrent users in cases where devices do not have an IFA already. that provides better and unified usage and transparency. Ads.txt specifies a mechanism for publishers to list their authorized digital seller's ID in order to fight against fraud and misrepresented domains. An add-on is a seller.json, which reveals seller identity. The app ads.txt specification is a further extension to the original ads.txt standard to meet the requirements for applications distributed through mobile app stores, CTV app stores, or other application distribution channels. Ads.cert validates that bid requests contents are not manipulated as impressions pass among the supply chain entities. This is still in beta, but standardizes the use of cryptographically signed bid requests to address multiple types of fraud that are predicated on manipulating these types of data.
Then we have the TCF, the Transparency and Consent Framework specification. It defines the API for consent management providers, and it's the regulatory basis to practically apply GDPR rules. GDPR rules were a hot topic since 2018. GDPR here in Europe is the primary law regulating how companies protect US citizens' personal data. They have to obtain, so the companies have to obtain consent from the user to process their personal data or established legitimate interest so that the fundamental rights of the user are being secured. TCF and GDPR is not directly preventing ad fraud, but they assure user watch properly where they leave data, and spoofed apps are early filtered out. And last but not least, not an IAB standard, but a really common practice is content protection via digital rights management systems. So it helps to secure the delivery of premium content in brand-safe environments with various schemes such as Fairplay, Widevine, and PlayReady. And it assures that only valid user can stream content on known apps and devices.
So I want to talk about how we can use machine learning on data that we are collecting from the various places in the streaming ecosystem that I described earlier. So we are collecting data from the player side, from the server side, from the from ad insertion, from CDNs and so forth. So we have the richness of data, and we can use that level of data to create meaning and patterns and take actions on it in real time. So the way it works is like any machine learning model, it takes advantage of the richness of data to create models. There are so many dimensions in relation to ad serving, and the model tries to understand the patterns that data represents. What kind of groupings can be done, can be discovered, and what kind of anomalies are present. So when you do that, you can quickly understand patterns that you may not have already thought of. And I think this is very, very important for identifying ad fraud and being able to take quick action and real-time action when ad fraud occurs. So our system has the ability to collect the data, to process it, to understand from that level of data. And the way that the insights and the data is used can be many ways. There are various ways to do that. So one example is to use the data to share it with the ad server so that the ad server can dynamically choose to include or exclude a creative. So the MediaMelon SDK in this instance would provide the monitoring, and that monitoring data goes to the alerting system, and it uses the webhooks or some way of handling the logic that then goes to the ad server API. The ad server API would be handled by a third party that can then pause an ad creative, and that way you can limit the fraudulent traffic. Leander?
Yeah. So let's do a quick poll before we come to our conclusion round. So we have a question to you. Does the industry and companies themselves have to take fraud more seriously and be more self-regulatory? So please, we have 3 answers here. So regulation pushed by advertisers and brands. Regulation should be pushed by supply chain partners, edtech companies, and publishers, or there is no need to act. So what's your opinion? Please, please give us a vote. So we hope you could also make your minds up when you saw the slides that we explained and spoke about the supply chain. So we give you another 5 seconds to make your choice. 3, 2, 1, and let's have a look on the results. Okay, so the 40% say it should be pushed by advertisers and brands. Finally, the people who pay. But 60% say, hey, regulation should be pushed by the supply chain partners like edtech companies and publishers, the people who get paid, and no need to act. Nobody said so. Definitely it shows that there is a need to take action and not just to look what happens. So thank you for your opinions here. So what is our offering to fight ad fraud? We provide an open SSAI solution and in combination with MediaMelon, a sophisticated client analytics SDK supporting IAB standards. That's the core.
So the set of APIs on the dashboard that we discussed about provides marketers, the brands and the agencies, the publishers, and the ad tech ecosystem. As the poll showed, the feeling is that it's a problem that the brands and the agencies are of course involved in, the publishers are involved in, but we also want the ad tech ecosystem to be a participant in it. So we welcome them to be to work with us and to play a role in it. And the set of APIs in the dashboard provides the data, the actionable data, to improve the effectiveness of that delivery and to prevent that fraud. So the offering really takes the form of an API, and those APIs can be consumed to understand what is valid traffic and what is invalid traffic. And then there are ways by which you can use the data to block traffic that is not valid on a pre-bid basis, but also after the event, you can understand through analytics on a post-bid basis so that you can improve your ad solution. And all these are compliant with the IAB standards and can be provided via the existing reporting pipelines, as well as to the brands and the agencies directly.
Thank you, Kumar. So we coming to our end and want to have a conclusion and have a look on the outlook. So ad fraud is a systematic threat that primarily harms advertisers, but also indirectly all participants in the supply chain. So finally, what we require is a combination of various methods and tech standards to build and maintain a resilient, robust environment and underlying supply chains. And what Kumar just explained, the AI-based alerts, is definitely one interesting way to doing it and to help getting ahead of the fraudsters.
And to add to Leander, we have to ensure ad validity and viewability with the IAB standards to avoid invalid traffic, IVT. For CTV, we should use identifiers for the legitimacy of apps and devices. And besides fraud prevention, the identifiers will help with targeting, blacklisting, and for brand safety.
We think it's important to have to conduct paranoid views, so to understand your system, to ask questions, to see is what I deliver makes sense. So this is definitely also one action that needs to be taken care. On the standard side, use VAS 4.1 and the following versions, because there's a lot of measurement capabilities that we can implement and can use if this standard is supported. And really important, and you see it in our example here with MediaMelon, know your partners, promote collaboration between industry partners. We think this is very important because the higher the transparency in the supply chain is and the partners know each other, the less we have finally weak points where fraud can happen. So thank you for your time today. We still have some minutes, so we are happy to hear your questions. Please use the Q&A function and send us your questions if you like. So we have one question which came up. What should be the key KPIs for measuring ad fraud? Kumar, I think this is your area. You would like to answer this?
I think some of the KPIs, and feel free, Leander, to add to this, but some of the KPIs that we should look at, as I mentioned, are related to the pattern of data. So where the traffic came from, what kind of devices, what kind of locations. So the set of data that you can capture from the ecosystem provides you the baseline that you can then use to understand what is invalid. Leander, feel free to add to it.
Yeah, I mean, there was one topic, and we discussed this a lot when we spoke about these AI-based pipelines and understand anomalies. I think it's interesting to look at the massive amount of data and find these anomalies. So when you suddenly see 100% of your ad requests come from a certain location or come from a Android version, which is always the same, this is not normal. And I think this is one key topic, one KPI to find these anomalies in when we measure, and then be able to classify this as ad fraud.
Just one more thing I would add to that is what happens with ad fraud is that people the brands would find that a lot of ad views happen, but then there's no conversion. A lot of clicks, a lot of viewing, but there's no action. Those are not things that we can capture between our companies, but these are other things from the industry that also indicate the presence of ad fraud that we can then correlate with.
Thank you. Another question came in. Does device fragmentation contribute to ad fraud, and how your solution can help? I mean, device fragmentation, we had this in the beginning. This is the new reality. So it's not just the TV. Video consumption happens on different devices, on connected TVs, on mobile phones, on PlayStations and Xboxes. So the device fragmentation definitely makes the system less robust and resilient because you have different interfaces, different paths that you have to support. So what we try to prevent, or what we support finally in order to deal with device fragmentation, is Serverside.ai delivers unified streams. So this is finally one stream that goes out. And MediaMelon is capable of adjusting the SDK on all device platforms and players. So by bringing this connection, we can close gaps that happen by device fragmentation.
Yeah, that's right. So I echo what Leander said. And then the fact is that the CPMs that the brands are willing to pay are different for different devices. So there is that the device fragmentation creates the motivation for ad fraud. That is then what we are trying to solve.
So another practical question come in. Thank you very much for your presentation. Could you share electronic record of it? Sure, of course. We are living in a live and on-demand time, so this is not a secret here. So this presentation will be made available on MediaMelon's and Serverside.ai blog post, and you will also get an online slide share deck of this. So we will let you know once this is up, and then you can also see it again and share with your colleagues. All right, right in time. So we have currently no further questions. Thank you very much from my side. Leander Karel from Nautilus, Serverside.ai, Kumar.
Yes,
so we are
thanks,
here.
Leander. Thanks everyone for participating in this, and we look forward to being in touch. Take care.
Thanks a lot.